right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Good morning, good evening. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you're feeling good. And I hope you're able to learn from these notes, and I hope you find something interesting. Now, of course, this new chapter is, What have I become? Who are you? What makes you? Right now, we're focusing again on what's happening inside our bodies, if we're healthy or sick. So we want to start studying this problem. We also want to start exploring the things that are affecting our body. Maybe they're toxins, maybe they're pollutants. And we want to think about our cells and all that chemistry that's going on inside the cells. We last left off on slide 10 where we saw an organism, this thing that looks like a briefcase, in this weird model, shows water and glucose and other food molecules going in and different molecules going out. That's the chemistry. Molecules changing bonds and becoming new molecules or substances. All right. So continue to think really about the food and how it's affecting your body. The things that we eat, proteins, carbohydrates, vegetables, fats, or fast food. The junk food type stuff. Think about all the different things you eat and the fact that it is digesting into these really small things we call molecules, atoms, compounds, chemicals. And they're all going into you. Just start thinking about that digestion. Everything that goes into you gets broken down and it goes into you. Like this old kitty cat eating its delicious food. Or maybe when we eat something in our bodies and we're digesting it into these smaller particles. And these smaller particles, of course, are different types of molecules made up of atoms. We will spend a lot of this video learning about atoms that are building these molecules that are found in all the foods we eat that make us and build our bodies and keep us healthy or sick. All right, first of all, let's remember that on slide 11, we have something awesome to write in our notebook. Remember, if it's in a pink box, we copy it down as part of our notes. And that's slide 11. So in your notebook, write slide 11 and then copy it down. It says living and non-living objects are composed of the same basic building blocks, materials, particles. We're calling them atoms. So everything from a rock to a tree to we, us, humans, all things break down eventually to atoms. Just like this rock, if you broke it down into sand and even smaller, it's these small little things we call atoms that make rocks, abiotic things, and biotic, living things. Everything is composed of the same basic thing, these atoms. Let's zoom in. Check this picture out. It's beautiful, right? As we zoom and look at the details of organisms, we see how complex they are. But still, even zooming in on something so much is nowhere near getting to see the atoms that make it. Here we've zoomed in enough to see the cells that make different organisms. Some are single-celled organisms. Some organisms are only made of single cells. We, human beings, start with an egg that begins dividing, and before you know it, there's hundreds of trillions of cells that make our bodies, just like this fertilized egg. But some organisms are a single cell their entire life. This is a single cell. Some single cells here, put in a smiley face. This is a white blood cell attacking invaders in our body. Here's a bunch of single-celled bacteria on the surface of something. All of these cells, whether they are living on their own or they combine to make an organism, they're very small. But still, cells are made up themselves of hundreds of trillions of atoms. And this is it right here. We can use certain technologies, and these two scientists way back when created technologies that would allow us to visualize using computers and special microscopes, special electron scanning microscopes. We could begin to see the overall shape of these smaller atoms that make our cells and make us and make rocks and everything. This is the tip of a needle, and every little dot here on the tip of this needle represents an atom. Look how many atoms it takes to make the very, very tip of a needle. Here's some computer images of atoms on surfaces. We've even learned to move atoms around, even though they're so tiny we could never see it with our own eye. Again, it takes hundreds of trillions of atoms to make even a single cell of your body. And a single cell of your body, it takes hundreds of trillions of those cells to make you. So we're talking about very, very small things. So, in honor of those little tiny things that make us those atoms, I would like in your notebook for you to draw anything composed of dots, and we'll pretend that they're atoms. Just like all this work, all of these different artworks were made just by using dots. Dots that represent all the atoms that make everything around us. So in your notebook, write slide 16. This is slide 16. And begin drawing anything you want using only dots or atoms. All right? Have fun. All right, in our notebooks, you need to write slide 17. This is slide 17. So in your notebook, write slide 17. And again, we are going to look at a model. I created this model from some other images online. And this shows the environment, which is everything here. This circle, it represents the environment. And it shows the environment moving and giving things to the organism. So our environment is made up of biotic or living and abiotic, non-living things. And there's lots of molecules and atoms in our environment. And they pass through us. You can see it's like a cycle. Things go into us, things leave us. Eating, drinking, excreting, making waste. We release it all. We breathe it out, we breathe it in, we eat it, and we release it through going to the bathroom. All the molecules of our environment are parts of us, and parts of us become parts of the environment. All of these atoms and molecules. So in your notes for slide 17, please create this table. In your notebook, write this table. Just like you see, fill it out. So go ahead and pause the video. And then decide. It says identify objects from the environment. So look at the environment part here. So this is the environment. And decide, is there atoms in the environment? If there is, just go ahead and put a check mark. Yes, there is. Are there molecules in the environment? You decide, put yes or no. Are there chemicals in the environment? Well, look at the picture. Do you see any possible chemicals? All right, question 2. Do the same thing, but identify objects within the organism. So create this table again for question 2. Make a second table, just like the first one. And look inside the organism. Here, it's a human, right? Human organism. And you can see these structures here. It says, are there atoms inside the organism? I would say yes. Then it says, are there molecules inside the organism? Well, I call these molecules. So I would say yes. So make sure you put an X for yes. And then you have to decide chemicals. Do you think there's any chemicals? Would you call these chemicals? If you think so, yes. Click yes. If not, hit no. But put it in your notebook, please, for this second table. All right, question 3 is our last one. It's a multiple choice question. It says, according to this model, which of these would be most correct? So choose A, B, or C for question 3. So it says, according to the model here, which one of these choices is correct? And I'll read them. A, the same molecules are not found in the environment and organism. So you have to look at the molecules here and ask yourself, is it the same as the organism, or as the molecules inside? If they are not the same molecules inside the organism and outside the organism in the environment, then you would choose A. Part B, look at this. It says molecules travel from environment to organism and back to environment. So does this show molecules moving into the organism and out? If you think this is the true statement, choose B. And then C says different molecules in environment and body. So do you think there's different molecules out here compared to here? So if you see only certain molecules here and different ones out here, then C would be correct. Choose A, B, or C based on what you think is correct. All right, let's keep moving. This is slide 18, and it gives us a new definition for the elements of life. And the elements of life are specific types of atoms, and the elements of life are the types of atoms that make our bodies. So go ahead and pause the video and copy down the definition for slide 18. Element equals a specific type of atom, and we have many different types of atoms that exist. It says any material made of hundreds of trillions of the same type of atom. So all materials are made up of hundreds of trillions of the same type of atom. That would be an element. So if you had a gold bar, a bar of gold would be a perfect example. All right, next let's complete the question for slide 18. It says identify the top 4 elements that make up the body. So look at the percents here from the video. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to, and look at the percents. Okay? It says identify the top 4 elements that make up the body. Well, right here, if you look at oxygen, it says 64.6% of our body is made up of the element oxygen. So the biggest one would be oxygen at 64%. Now do 2, 3, and 4. Find out which ones are the other most common elements that make up our body. And just make that list in your notebook. So we are made of elements. Most of the elements that make our body come from what we eat or what we breathe in and out. You can see by mass, we weigh the most based on oxygen. Oxygen makes up most of our body, this dark blue. So we have more oxygen atoms that make our body than any other. But look at how long this list is. All these are different elements found on the periodic table. Look how many make us. There's a lot. Why don't you pause it and count it? I'll give you extra credit. How many elements does it take to build a human body? So how many different types of atoms or elements make up our body? Do you remember these elements? You got hydrogen for H. K is potassium. Do you know what Fe is? Do you remember what Au is? Carbon for C. O for oxygen. That's easy. What about Au? What is that? Do you remember? Do you remember from old middle school science what Au represents? What element that is? It's gold. How many gold atoms would it take to cover the surface of a dollar bill? How many gold atoms would it take to cover the surface of a dollar bill? Believe it or not, it would take 1 times 10 to the 17 gold atoms to perfectly cover the surface of a dollar bill. Look how many atoms it would take. That's how small atoms are. You can fit this many atoms on the surface of a dollar bill. These things are tiny. And it takes special electron microscopes or light transition microscopes to see them, because they are too small to see with your eye. They're just so tiny. You need special microscopes like these to see something so small, because you can do so much. They're so small. All right, this is slide 22. Let's do slide 22 in our notes. So go ahead and write slide 22 in your notebook, and then let's copy down atom. It's a simple definition. It says the smallest basic particle of an element. So if you get a gold brick, it's 100% pure gold element. If you just break it into tiny parts, it would eventually go to the smallest part, which would be the atoms of gold. And atoms have specific shapes that we'll study a little. We won't get too complicated with what atoms are made of, but we will look at it. And each of these elements has a basic atomic structure. In your notebook, again, write the definition for atom. The atom. All right, see you next time, folks, and we'll pick up and start learning about the anatomy, or what makes these atoms. Have a good day.